So this is going to be one of the most important videos that you have ever seen, because this is going to be talking about your brain. And I promise you guys that once I understood this principle, it has absolutely transformed my life. I was able to clearly think. I was able to make decisions more smoothly. I was able to basically evaluate and understand many areas of my decision-making processes that has helped in every aspect of my life. And for this video, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about the neuroscience of your brain. And before you click off, because I talked about some science terminology that's maybe perhaps not your field of expertise, to be honest, I am the absolute same. For this video, I'm just going to talk about the basic principles of the different modes of how your brain deals when it comes to your day-to-day. Now, there are two specific conscious modes of your brain. You have one, the task positive network mode, or in other words, TPN, and then you have the default mode network, the DMN. Now, it's important to realize that at this given time, even you watching this YouTube video, you are either in the task positive network mode or you are in the default mode network mode. Now, most likely you're probably right now in this one watching this video, because I'll explain in just a moment the different types of characteristics that describe the different types of mode. But it's important for you to realize that in today's age, the default mode network is the mode or the type of mind frame that you are lacking nowadays. And there's a lot of reasons to why this is happening, but for this video I explain why that is very crucial and how that will perhaps help you for the future. Now, before we talk about this, let's go through each single mode one by one. Now, the task positive network mode, that is the mode that you guys are most active with when you are currently doing something, whether you are focusing on an activity, whether you're doing your homework, an assignment, whether you're working. It's basically a problem-solving mode. Now, within the task positive network, this is also where most of the analyzing happens. Then we also have the linear goal-oriented activities. Then we have concentrated activities, of course, as well as the ability to increase stress. Now, if you're in this task positive network mode for too long, and I've been in this network or been in this mode for quite some time, you eventually increase cortisol levels, which will eventually result you to increasing stress levels. And now that's something that you don't want, because what that will yield or result into something known as a burnout. Right, and so the task positive network, I like to call it when you are locked in. For example, if you're in the gym or if you're doing an activity that you're really good at, this is the network mode where you're known as locked in. So you're basically dialed in, you're doing it effortlessly, but it's not the same as the flow. Now, if you have probably heard about the flow, or the idea of being in that flow state of mind, it's not essentially the task positive network mode, although it does dominate mainly this area, but flow is essentially a mixture of both, but I'll explain that towards the end of the video. Now, the default mode network is a little bit different. So obviously the default mode network is essentially the opposite of TPN, right? And so when we talk about the default mode network, we're talking about the creativity and reflection part. So imagine this is the mode where you are actually doing the activity, you're utilizing your brain, you're doing this, you're concentrating, you're analyzing, you're solving problems. This mode or network is basically where you sit down and you reflect on things. You basically dial back, you sit down, you meditate, you think, and then perhaps you're like evaluating some of your decisions you made previously. So in this network or this mode, this is where creativity and reflection happens. This is where we are essentially bored, resting, or even daydreaming. Like I assume you guys watching this video, you guys probably wonder as well. This is in fact the mode where you are the most imaginative. That's where you have all the crazy and fanciest ideas. That's where you decide to start a business. This is where you decide to, I don't know, become a different person, etc., etc. But in this mode, this is where you kind of zoom out and evaluate the bigger picture of things. And now slowly you get to picture and understand why this type of mode is really, really important. And again, I'll explain in just a moment to why in today's world this default mode network is actually lacking. Now, furthermore, the default mode network touches on identity and creativity, as I mentioned earlier. Oh, I think I doubled down on this. And it's also the mode of network where you are actually actively reducing stress. In other words, your cortisol levels go down, your dopamine is restabilizing, endorphin as well. And this is basically the mode where you are concentrating with least or less effort. So in other words, or in simple words, you are basically doing nothing. And so in today's world, what is the issue? The issue is, I would like to firstly clear off the misconception that multitasking doesn't exist. When somebody tells you, hey man, I'm multitasking, or I'm very good at multitasking, what they're actually good at is basically switching from TPN to DMN constantly. So they're basically switching left, right. And the more a person multitasks, the more they're basically prone to switching from one mode to the other. Now, this is not a good thing because firstly, you have to understand the way your brain works is you need some time to be in this mode, right? It's not, even though you're good at multitasking, your brain needs to adjust to the right brain waves, and this takes some time until TPN or in the other side as well, DMN is fully activated. And so multitasking basically makes you just go back and forth without being able to 100% fully be in either of these modes. So that's one downside. The second downside is why multitasking is a big issue is because if you're not able to fully embrace TPN, you're also not able to fully embrace problem solving, you're not able to fully embrace analyzing, concentrated, and secondly, if you're not able to and this is even more important, fully embrace the default mode network, you're not able to reflect. And more importantly, and this is something that I've experienced, if not many times, especially to this date in my career, is to reduce stress. Now, if you're a person, if, for example, working 9 to 5, or you have a lot of stuff going on in your life, and you're very often stuck, or if not on overdrive in this mode, the issue is that your cortisol levels goes too high, and that's something that we don't want because this is not neuroscience anymore, it's biology, right? And if not physiology. And so if your cortisol levels goes high, your stress goes high, then you have all sorts of problems such as anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, you become nervous, and all of these other sorts of problems, and that's something we don't want. And so in today's world, the reason why default mode network is very seldom activated has something to do with the idea of multitasking earlier. And one of the biggest issues I've seen, and I've directly referred from the book Stolen Focus from Joe and Harry, is the idea of smartphones and devices. And so smartphones and devices essentially prevent us from being in default mode network. And I'll repeat that because a lot of people believe that when they are using their smartphone, when they're using the tablets, when they're playing video games, they think that they're actively resting or recovering. But when you're actually playing video games, when you're using your phones, when you're scrolling, etc., you are using your task positive network mode. And that's not what you want. Because a lot of people think that, again, when they are scrolling or resting, you want to be in this mode, you want to be in DMN. But unfortunately, because of the specific dopamine spikes, right, I wrote it down here, dopamine spikes that happens when it comes from scrolling and playing video games, you're currently triggering the task positive network mode. And now it's not a bad thing. However, on the long run, you don't want that to compound because essentially you're going to increase stress, and that's not good because then your brain doesn't have enough of load to basically process the lot of stuff that you do in a day, and that's something that you don't want. And so now the next question comes, how do we stay longer in default mode network mode? The default mode network mode. And now default mode network mode, I guess, essentially, or the setting. And so I want you to understand that once we realize our default mode network is really, really important for processing memory, for recovery, for reducing stress, now that we have realized the benefits of being in this default mode network mode, is we need to understand how to get there. And so how do we get there is, one, eliminate the idea of multitasking. So multitasking, as I mentioned earlier, suddenly, I don't know, you're eating pizza and doing your homework, or you're like playing video games while trying to solve an assignment, or trying to do your work while scrolling on TikTok. Like, that is multitasking, and multitasking will 100% prevent you from being in the default mode network alone. So what you got to do is you got to focus on one thing at a time. stop multitasking. It's as basic as it sounds. So if you're currently doing your work, just focus on your work. If you're eating, eat. If you are playing video games, just play video games. The point is focus on one thing at a time so that your brain stops switching back and forth and it could fully embrace either one of these modes. Now the third one is to understand the dopamine spikes. Now not only is video game a crucial trigger for dopamine, but other stuff like food, your nutrition as well as sleep, those stuff stimulate your dopamine and fluctuate your dopamine. Dopamine is a very strong processor for either of these modes, and once you have that under control, I can almost guarantee you that you guys can very smoothly enjoy both the task positive network mode as well as default mode network mode that are essential and crucial for your life. And I hope you guys understand in this video, because in the next video I'll probably talk about flow a little bit more if you're interested. But I hope you guys understand the very basic terminologies of neuroscience. Again, I'm not a neuroscientist per se, but once I understood this, I have basically understood or realized a new perspective of life, and has drastically changed the trajectory of my career. So I want the same for you guys, and if you do like these videos, do subscribe.